Hey everybody, Anthony Alfredo here for my 2020 post-season recap Q&A session. But first, we're kind of going to briefly expand upon this whole season, what it's meant to be, meant to me, not be, and what it's been like competing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for such a notorious race team like Richard Childress Racing. We'll touch on some ideas we have for next season as well, which there is no commitments yet, and obviously we're working really hard to come up with something. I would at least tell you that we had something lined up if we did. Even if I couldn't tell you what, I would say we're good, but we are not yet. So we're working on it. However, I just want to address everyone in the stream so far. I know a lot of people are watching this live. It will be uploaded to YouTube after this. So if you are seeing on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. However, if you're watching on Twitch, you get 24-hour access or 24-hour pre-access. What is that called? You get to see it 24 hours early access. That's the phrase I was looking for. Robinson is subscribed for 7 months. Pleasure to have you part of the Sauce Mafia, Robinson. People have been asking me, how do I become part of the Sauce Mafia? Well, all you gotta be is an Anthony Alfredo fan, and you're already in. You're already part of it. So thank you guys for the support as usual, and everyone tuning in to the stream today and every day. We're gonna be streaming longer after this as well. We're gonna play some Call of Duty Warzone with our friends. This is my mic, by the way. You see part of it's hanging. Like, I just have it like this, so it's not in the screen too much. But nonetheless, I'll just start off. I don't even know where to begin. 2020 has been pretty unbelievable year for a lot of reasons, for I think a lot of people in the world, but definitely myself and my career. I've taken the step moving up from the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And that was a big step for me, mainly because I competed part-time in the Truck Series last year, and I've only run 12 races. So I got into the Xfinity Series this year and just finished up my last race of the year, and put me at a total of 19 starts in the series. So more Truck Series starts, or more starts than I've had than in the Truck Series, which is pretty crazy to think. And this was going to be a big step in my career. I knew that going into the year, and I also remember being nervous about it. My first race at Auto Club Speedway, more nervous than I probably ever had been. Not because I was just so nervous about everything going on in the race and it being a big step, but there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, usually you go into a race and you kind of have an expectation, and sorry for the marks on my neck. I have sensitive skin and I was scratching, but I had so much uncertainty going into the first race of the year, and I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but I knew I just wanted to complete all the laps and not damage the race car and do my best. Something really cool about that race was my first race wasn't even scheduled to be Auto Club Speedway, and I'm very thankful that Anderson's Pure Maple Syrup came on board to be a part of that race and part of my debut, and I actually scored them their best finish in the NASCAR Xfinity Series as a debut driver. So that was pretty special, or best finish at Auto Club. So that was cool, and that was in my first start. We finished 6th, side by side for 5th place at the line, which was unbelievable. And something else I want to point out before we get further into this is that at Auto Club Speedway, we actually had practice and qualifying, which was the first and only time I have ever had that as a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, which is nuts to think about, because if you told me I was going to have no practice or qualifying this season, I probably would have been even more nervous about this challenge, and honestly wouldn't have been sure if this is the right step in my career. That being said, clearly it went really well, and we're able to adapt and take on that challenge very well, if you ask me, and I think all the people around me. So I'm proud of that, and that takes us to our, after Auto Club Speedway, I think there was only 2 more races before the coronavirus pandemic hit the United States and changed everything for a lot of people in this world. And I first want to point out how it's affected a lot of people, and just say that saying prayers for everyone in the world that's going through tougher times than some of us others may be going through, especially because of this global pandemic. But the way it affected racing was, as I mentioned before, no practice, no qualifying, and in addition to that, no fans at the racetrack, which was really sad, because as it being my first year in the series, I wanted to have fans there, and as I'm trying to make a name for myself, I know a lot of you watching on TV and people tuning into the stream right now or watching this replay on YouTube, which means a lot, but to have people at the track every week, to meet them in person and meet all of you, and have our sponsors at the racetrack and their clients, their employees go fly and do appearances. This year was definitely not what I had expected or hoped it to be, and I'm sure if everything was kind of normal, so to speak, it would have been an unbelievable year as far as I don't know, just what I would have experienced as a race car driver. That being said, it's been pretty awesome to take on this challenge and be more unique and original and take advantage of a platform like Twitch and do these things, these live Q&A sessions, which I'll continue to do whether or not everything goes back to how it was a long time ago or not. But I will say it definitely allowed me to come up with new ideas to engage with all of you and make friends and develop a fan base, connect with my friends and family, and so much more. So our first race back from quarantine was at Darlington Raceway, and that was the first race iRacing actually sponsored me. And we all know how big of a role iRacing's played in my career, so shout out to them. They actually also sponsored me in the 2 Homestead races this year, where that was the first doubleheader of the season for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. But coming out of quarantine, where I was streaming on Twitch more than I ever have been, and I raced more than I ever had before, and streamed it all live. I was doing anywhere from, I think, minimum 5 hours of streaming a day, typically straight. And some days, I know one day I totaled 12 hours of streaming because I had a 5 hour and a 7 hour stream. And we were competing in the Pro Invitational Series, which was a phenomenal experience. Thanks to NASCAR and iRacing and all the broadcast partners for making that happen. For me being an iRacer, you know how excited about that I was, because I wanted to take advantage of that and showcase my talent virtually. And that was definitely cool, especially because I made some great friends on the iRacing platform and through the sim racing community, including everyone at Lockdown Racing and the Team Dylan Esports drivers as well. But in particular, Jimmy Mullis and Zach Novak helped me out a lot in all of my races in the Pro Invitational Series. And I'm pointing these out because these had a big role in the 2020 season for me. And the reason I say that is because with no practice and no qualifying, racing at Talladega virtually was the closest I'd ever get to super speedway racing before I went and did it in real life. And I actually had my real life spotter, Derek Nealon, spot me for it to help prepare me for that. So that was pretty cool and unique. And we actually won one of the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series events on iRacing, that Saturday Night Thunder race at Dover. And that was definitely a big goal of mine to win one of them. The week before at Talladega, we got turned leading on the last lap. So we had come close a couple times. I think in the end we won 3 or 4. I think we won 4 heat races, finished second twice. We are, if I'm not mistaken, so the first 2 races, everyone was allowed to qualify in for the Cup race. Well, then they made the Saturday Night Thunder deal, which was the Xfinity cars, and it was everyone but the Cup Series drivers ran in that. Well, when you could qualify for the Cup Series races, Ty Majeski and I were the only 2 drivers to transfer into all 2 or 3 events that we ran. And then when the Pro Invitational Saturday Night Thunder events came out, I don't think Ty ran every race, which I believe leaves me as the only driver to qualify into and race in every single eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series event. So that's pretty special, and something that meant a lot to me. And like I said, they played a key role in me preparing for real life races once we went back racing after quarantine. So after Darlington, I think we headed to Atlanta, and that was where Death Wish Coffee is actually a picture of that car right there. Sponsored me for the first time of 3 times this year. We had a great race there, and it was another top 10 finish for us. So we were definitely building some momentum. We were finishing on the lead lap every week, learning and racing in the top 10. So it was a good start to the year. And after that was the 2 Homestead races, which scored my at the time, it was my first top 5 finish. Finished 4th, passed my childhood hero, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the last lap, went top of 3 wide, and finished 4th. I think we could have won that one if we had a few more laps there, too. That was a green, white, checkered finish. The second day, we were running in the top 10 all day and had a tire go down at the end. I got trapped a lap down and finished, I think, 11th, so just outside the top 10. a bunch more races this year, and it was just really exciting. I know I've done a post-race Q&A for the majority of these races, but I also wanted to pull up my schedule so that I can kind of be a little bit more specific about each event. Briefly, I'm not going to go into each race, but I'm just kind of taking you through each race step by step. And after the Homestead races, we went to Talladega with dude wipes on the car, and that was where I led my first career laps in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and had a really great shot to win the race. Finished sixth there. One thing I want to point out is we finished sixth 5 different times this year, so that was pretty crazy in itself. And imagine if all those were one spot better. That'd be pretty cool. Then ran my only road course race of the season and first in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which was really special to be a part of the inaugural event there, where stock cars raced on the road course at Indy, and finished 20th. The winter net fell down lap 2. We got trapped a lap down and had a pretty wild day. And I'm still learning how to road race on top of that. So that was a challenging day, but we made up for it at Kentucky when we had the double headers, and I want to thank Lucas Oil for coming on board in Indy. That was definitely special to have him on there, and then go to Kentucky with Alsco and represent them in both races. Saturday, I think there was a Friday night and Saturday night races actually at Kentucky, which was really cool. Both those races we had a shot at a top 3 finish. The second night I felt like we actually had a shot at the win. Finished 6th in both of those, so 2 6th place in a row. We thought it was 5th the second night. I don't know if anyone remembers that. For some reason, the scoring pylon and the TV, everything had me in 5th, and then randomly the official results said 6th, so that was interesting. But I think a caution came out at the end, and that's why. So we went to Texas, led more laps at Texas. That's actually what this picture's from, back in the Death Wish coffee machine, and passed Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain, 2 guys I've looked up to in racing growing up and who have a lot of experience in racing and have proven themselves at the highest level of the sport. So to pass them on old tires and take the lead was cool, and you know the story from there. We had to give up the lead because of debris on the grill, so I could fall in line behind a car and get the debris off, and ended up getting into the fence, made a mistake there, and that ended our day early. But we got to end the year there last weekend, and we'll get to that in a minute. Went to Dover for the doubleheader, which was really special because that's about 3 hours from home for me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm from Ridgefield, Connecticut, and all my family's in the Connecticut, New York area, so my parents actually were able to be with my girlfriend in the hotel room at Dover Downs overlooking the racetrack and see both races, because the only races they had been to all year was my debut at Auto Club Speedway, and that goes back to not having fans at the track and sponsors and so much more, more team members or team owners, etc. But not having my family there was disappointing as well. Definitely challenging at times, but it was cool to have them there, and that was definitely special. Dover was actually where I won that virtual race, so to go there in real life was cool and make that sim to reality correlation, as we always say, the sim to reality campaign. After Dover, looks like, we went to Daytona. So I didn't get to run Daytona in the beginning of the year, and Daytona was really special to go to for the first time, not only ever, but in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. There was a lot of emotions there, and with no practice and no qualifying, my first laps were the drop of the green flag, so that was pretty intense. But we got up into the top 3, and then I think we pitted and we're further back, and the big one happened, and we had nowhere to go, but we rode around, lost the draft, finished the race, but not how we wanted to, because the super speedways were arguably our best races of the year. I've really taken a liking to super speedway racing, and probably the intermediates are my favorite, actually. And of course, I still love short track racing, but that was cool. And to have Pyro Putty on the car and bring them into the sport of NASCAR for that brand specifically was special. Before going to Darlington, which that was the second time, because we went there, that was the first race back after quarantine, so to go back the following week after Daytona was really special because that was throwback weekend. And for everyone who knows, at Darlington, throwback weekend is a big deal, and that was definitely not the same without fans there, because I've been driving down to Darlington with my girlfriend to go be a fan at that race, and to race there twice this year was special. It's arguably the hardest track at the national level in NASCAR, but we had Blue Otter polarized on the car, which was really, really special. I know it was cool for that brand, and I was really proud to represent them there because our throwback scheme also gained a lot of attention since it was a throwback to Kevin Harvick's Coast Guard car that he ran for Richard Childress Racing, and I believe that car specifically was 2009 or 2001. I think I got to look at the details on that, but he won 9 races en route to the championship. So to highlight or pay respect to RCR's success as an organization in general, and of course in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, was pretty cool, and I know special for everyone on the race team. Bristol, my first and only short track race of the season, was just after that, and Death Wish Coffee was back on the car for the 3rd time. Shout out to them. I actually got to go home before the Dover race, as a matter of fact, and visit their headquarters, which was really cool. I know there's part of the Texas car there, so that was cool. It was hung up on the wall, and they were all amazing people, and that went really well for us. We had a super fast car, but one thing I want to point out too is we had to start in the back there, and that was another 6th place finish of ours, battling for 5th at the line. I feel like most of our 6th place finishes, we were side by side for 5th at the line for some odd reason, and I just never got it done. We were always one spot short, or a nose short or something. We had the shorter end of that. However, at Bristol, short track racing under the lights there with fans was phenomenal, because that was the first race for me back in the seat that we had fans at the track, and I know a lot of friends of mine were there too, and to feel that energy was special, because in the beginning of the year I knew it wasn't the same without fans, and I kept saying, it's not the same without the fans there, I wish they were here. And then to go back and actually have them back, it was even the energy and the vibes you got were even more amazing than I remembered. So that was really, really special. That race in particular stands out to me. And we had a great time there and a very, very solid race. But overall this season, because of no qualifying, in the beginning there was a random draw. And in the beginning of the season, before I got into the car, we were outside of the top 12 in owners' points. And it was top 12, 13th through 24th, and so on. It was 12 spots each. And you would do a random draw and start somewhere in that bracket. So when we were outside the top 12, in between the 13th and 24th starting positions, we started 24th, 20th, got into the top 12 in points, started 12th, 10th. We ended up 7th at the Roval, which I was, not the Roval, I'm sorry, the Indy Road Course. And I'm like, this is the last place I need to start inside the top 10 at a road course. I mean, it helped, but obviously with the mechanical failure we had, it didn't help us. It didn't matter at that point, but I wish we had that top 10 somewhere else. So anyways, we had horrible luck with the random draw, and it was a random draw, straight up luck, and we did not, it never went well for us. But then they went to the performance-based algorithm, which obviously rewards you for doing well, but with the driver swaps and me not running the car every single race, made it challenging, because there would be, you'd be docked X amount of positions. So moral of the story is I think we started outside the top 15 almost every single race this season, probably 85-90% of the time, I think. And to be able to rebound from all those and learn how to pass cars, and running most of the intermediate tracks, it's very difficult to pass. I learned a lot from that, but it does put you behind the 8 ball from the start of the race. And the other thing is, with no practice and qualifying, people don't realize the adjustments you can make on a pit stop are very small, and that can make it difficult, because you kind of got what you got from the time you unload the race car off the hauler. You can't make major adjustments and fine tune things like you could if you had practice, or make major swings if you have to. So if you're a little bit off, just a little bit, you can usually get it right. But if you're pretty far off, it's pretty tough to get it right. And a lot of that falls on the driver. And with me being new to the majority of these tracks, new to these cars, new to the series, it made it very challenging, because not knowing in these longer races how it goes from day to night, and the balance changes, the track changes, the tires, where all these things make it hard to keep speed in the car mechanically, and tell your team what adjustments you need to make on the car as the race goes on each pit stop. So anyways, to start further back, I learned a lot about passing, coming up through the field, and to finish well every time, that considering that is good. But I will say, when you start in the back, as a rookie, it's tough because sometimes when you're not around the better cars, you first of all, you automatically go faster the further up in the field you get. People don't realize, like, the top three are usually automatically a couple tenths faster than the rest of the field because of clean air. The leader always has the biggest advantage, of course, and it gets worse and worse the further back you go. So it's harder to go fast, harder to pass, all these things. And when you get around the better cars, you also learn from the veterans and see what they're doing. And when you're in the back, not around those guys, it's hard to learn too. So by the time you get up there, you almost waste a whole stage figuring it out on your own. And then in stage 2 or somewhere it's a little bit too late to get the adjustment you need, you realize what you've needed the whole race. So regardless, that I think that only lasted for a handful of races. For example, we went to Kansas and started 25th, and we're in I gotta take a sip of water. Started in 25th, and we're in 13th in 5 laps, and then finished the first stage in 4th, under mainly green flag runs. 3rd the stage after that, and then of course the crash that I became relatively famous for this year, I guess, and we'll talk about that later. But after Bristol, we went to Las Vegas. And the reason Las Vegas Motor Speedway's race was special to me was because we continued the Sim to Reality campaign, but this time, not with iRacing on the car, it was actually with SimSeats. And SimSeats Driving Simulator has been a great partner of mine. I have an incredible simulator here in my apartment that I get to train on and stream for you all on, and make videos on my YouTube channel for you all on. So that's very cool to take that and make that real life transition with them and represent them at Las Vegas for the 2nd year in a row, because they were actually on my truck there last year for that same race weekend at the end of the year. So that was pretty cool. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of a tradition now, and I appreciate their support. And like I said, to have ties with the sim racing community and be a representative for everyone in the sim racing world, trying to tie the esports industry to the motorsports industry is something that I've focused on trying to be a leader in, and bridging that gap. So every time we can go from sim to reality, I call it, is definitely has sentimental value to me. The next week we actually went to Talladega again for the 2nd time, which was super, super exciting because of how competitive we were the first time. And that's where Seco Building Systems came on for the first and only time of the season. But Seco is one of my first ever sponsors in racing, and I've won a couple races with them on my car before. So to bring them to the national level in NASCAR was very meaningful. And we had a pretty successful race going for us. We ended up getting damaged just like at Daytona, kind of product of super speedway racing, but still finished a race. I think we ended up 12th or so at the end of it. Then we went to Kansas. So now we're down to the final 2 races of the season. Kansas went super well for us, probably the closest we've ever been to winning a race at this point in time. I feel like we've had that speed before, but with everything I learned so far this year and what we've developed as a team, we were able to put into one race and execute. And it was going really well till everything got flipped upside down in a matter of seconds, literally, because that is where, if you haven't seen it, just look up Anthony Alfredo crash or Anthony Alfredo Kansas crash. And I actually just uploaded a YouTube video today reacting to that wreck and doing a post-race Q&A, but we ended up getting in an accident there, and I went for a wild ride, flipped over, hit really hard, went in the air, flipped over. It was definitely insane, but that was how that race ended, which obviously the end result of wherever we were scored after that wreck doesn't tell the whole story. And I feel like I hate saying that because it sounds like an excuse, but I feel like that applies to the majority of our races this year. The end result doesn't apply or doesn't tell the whole story about how those races went for us and how competitive we were, running inside the top 10 at minimum every week, and typically inside the top 5 the majority of the time as I got more experience, and not being in the car every week, not having practice, not having qualifying, such limited seat time, and this is only 6-year racing. A lot of you don't even realize that because I forget it at times too. I haven't been racing my whole life like a lot of others, and I'm a first-generation racer. That being said, I wanted to make the most of my final start at Texas last weekend and scored my best career finish of the year. Finished 3rd, had a shot at the win. Maestro's Classic was on the car, and Andy's Frozen Custard was an associate. I have the door from the Andy's Frozen Custard Chevy Camaro behind me that I raced at Kansas, where we just spoke about how that one ended. But Maestro's on board my last race. Proud to represent them and score my best career finish, best finish for the number 21 car this year so far, and that was something to be proud of. Even though I will say, although it was a successful day, it was very disappointing to be that close and not come away with the win. All in all, though, can't ask for much more than that. I think this year I exceeded my own expectations, a lot of other people's expectations, and when I moved into the Truck Series last year, a lot of people told me I wasn't ready to take that step, and people told me the same thing. A lot more people told me the same thing coming into this year, and it's been rewarding to prove those people wrong and prove all the people who do believe in me right. And I just hope I've made everyone proud, all of you who support me, all the Sauce Mafia and my friends and my family, all the sponsors and amazing partners we've had, because as I listed here, as I went through each race, we've had a different partner on the car almost every race. Out of 19 races, we had 12 different sponsors, different primary sponsors. So shout out to them and thank you to all of them. It's been an unbelievable year. It's been a blessing to compete at this level. I never would have dreamed of it. Of course, my ultimate goal is much further. My ultimate goal is to be a Cup Series champion, and that's down the road. But considering that, this is just a small step in achieving that goal, and even though that's all it is, it still is a big deal to me and a dream come true. Especially because I was a part of Richard Childress Racing, which most people would consider the most iconic team in the sport of NASCAR. So that's been a surreal experience, and I hope it's a relationship that lasts for a long time throughout the future. There's so many amazing people there, and it's more like a family to me than it is an organization. I've had very talented team members on our 21 team, and I've been fortunate to work with them throughout the season and learn from them and get better, including leaning on my amazing teammates like Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon. Austin in particular has really taken me under his wing, and his group at Team Dillon Management as well have been great help to me and my career. So we're all working hard to be able to go compete full-time in 2021 next season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and go race for a championship, because with the performance we had this year, number one, if I was in the car every week, I think we would have ran even better just because of the momentum and the fact that the race team doesn't have to get used to a different driver or just the car for their driving style, get used to their communication and so on. But even running at the time, I think when the playoffs started, I had only run about half the races, and I just about made. I was in the top 16 in points, and in Xfinity the first round is 12, the top 12 in points. So that was running half the races. So I think it was a given we would have made the playoffs and probably even had a pretty good shot at the championship and contend for even more wins, if not have won a race or more. If you ask me what my expectations were this year, like I said before, I exceeded them. I would have hoped we'd be as competitive as we were at the end of this year, going into the year, but I definitely didn't think we'd come out swinging as hard as we did. We were very competitive from the get-go and pushed really hard to get better as a team every week and lean on each other, push each other. Everyone on this team wants to win as bad as I do and wants to work together again full-time next year. So going to the track, we found that little bit of extra strength in each other to make the most of the opportunity and work hard but have fun. And that's been something cool to experience. So I would consider it arguably one of the best years of my career, to be completely honest with you all. And to have so many amazing people be part of that is cool. There's too many people to thank. But a cool story I always tell, it gives me goosebumps every time I tell it. I'll take a sip of water here. And my parents actually visited Richard Childress Racing 25 years ago as race fans. So I'm 21 years old, and my parents visited RCR as race fans. They flew down from New York, came to Charlotte, North Carolina to go see the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and they actually had driven out to welcome North Carolina to go tour Richard Childress Racing. And at the time, that was the old shop, which is now the museum, but the new shop is right next door to that. That's all on the same campus. And to think that they went on a tour of that shop, and now I walk through that same race shop driving one of those race cars and seeing my name above the door on it is hard to put into words. It's indescribable. And that's all thanks to everyone who supports me, and it's just it gives me goosebumps every time I tell that story. So that being said, it's been a phenomenal year, and I'm so thankful, grateful for every one of you who comments kind things each week, watches the streams, watches my videos, watches the races, and all those tweets saying that I deserve a full-time ride are humbling as well. So it's been a heck of a ride, and this is only the beginning of what I hope to be one long journey to the top, and hopefully we'll continue to grow together. That being said, at this point in time, you guys have listened to me run on and talk enough. I could do that at times, but there was so much to say that you can't fit in a short interview on TV or in a little 1 minute clip for social media. So thank you, Twitch, for the platform for allowing me to do that, and YouTube, of course, too, for allowing me to upload videos. And I'd love to answer any questions any of you have. I know, as I've been talking, a lot of you have asked some questions, some great ones. I've been paying attention, so please, if you had a question I didn't answer already, which I probably didn't, then please go ahead and post those questions, ask those questions, and I'd love to answer anything about this season as a whole. I know we had the post-Texas QnA and Kansas QnA yesterday, or the day before, and I wanted to save questions regarding this whole season, even though I was my last race. Questions regarding this season, the future, the past, even before this year. Now's the perfect time for you guys to ask those. Who's the nicest Xfinity Series driver you met this year? That's tough to answer. There's a lot of good guys in the series, but probably, honestly, either I like Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric. They both, I haven't talked to a whole bunch, but they're very nice and haven't had any problems with them. Same goes for Harrison Burton and a few other guys. I'm leaning like this when I'm reading the questions because my mic is in the way, by the way. Do I agree with the limit of Cup drivers? You think they should be allowed to race as many as they want? So I understand why Cup drivers shouldn't be in playoff races and have some implications on the outcome of those races, even for the fans, right? But at the same time, as a driver, it's a double-edged sword. Does it make it harder to win when a guy like Kyle Busch comes in races? Yeah, of course it does, but at the same time, that's how you learn, is from those veterans. So I don't completely dislike when they run. And to be honest, I mean, I've raced side by side with a lot of those guys and even passed some of them before for position and for the lead in some cases. So, I definitely think it helps as a driver or me personally develop and only get better. Best paint scheme you ran this season. So that's the hardest question to answer. I just said we've had 12 different primary sponsors this year. So many amazing partners that support myself, my career in this race team. And we did not have a single bad-looking car this year. So it is so hard to pick just one, especially because they were all so different. So let me think for a second. I mean, I feel like every week I said, oh, this is my new favorite. But the Maestros and Death Wish schemes were similar. Like, they were matte, cutting edges, clean looking, and kind of tough. The Andes Frozen Custard scheme popped a lot. It looked really nice. I loved the colors on it. The Dude Wipe scheme, the bright blue on there, was one of my favorites. And the iRacing and SimSeat schemes were both red, white, and blue. So, and on top of being red, white, and blue, they're both, from my roots in sim racing and me being able to carry that campaign and of sim to reality and just have something that that's important to me. So to represent brands like that too was cool. But every single company I've worked with so far in my career, I've been very fortunate to work with companies that I'm actually an advocate of and have an understanding of what they do, appreciate what they do, or like I said, believe in their product. So that makes it really easy to say positive things because it's the truth. I'm not just saying it because I'm supposed to. It's because I actually believe it. So that's why I'm really thankful for all those people who support me. It's because they're all amazing people that I've built personal relationships with, and people that I believe in. We believe in each other, right? It's a mutual. Would you ever consider being an owner of a team, or do you prefer to be a driver? At this point in time, I'm trying to make it as a driver because that's my passion, of course. But down the road, that'd be something really cool and interesting to try and learn more about and see what the possibilities are. Thank you, everyone who's been saying such kind things as well, um, and with all the compliments uh, and whatnot. Everything you guys are saying is much appreciated. As goes for the questions. What's it like going from the truck series to the Xfinity series? So that's a really great question because the trucks drive very different from the NASCAR Xfinity series cars. They have a lot more downforce, much lower horsepower. So they just handle totally different. The truck takes a lot more because it's more forgiving aerodynamically, and you're still carrying at some places more corner speed, but it could take it, right, because of the added side force and down force. Whereas an Xfinity car is kind of like an older Cup car. You're slipping and sliding more. You have much less side force and down force and more horsepower. So for me personally, they've actually fit my driving style better, and I've had a great time with it. Any way to get virtual autographs? For sure. So just DM me or tweet at me the picture you want virtually autographed, and I can get that done and sent back to you. And if you want a real life autograph, you can fill out a hero card request form on my website, anthonyalfredo.com. And under the fan zone tab, you'll see you just got to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the location and address provided, and I'll sign a hero card and send it right back to you. You could race on any track outside the United States in any type of car. What track and car would you be racing? Formula One car at Spa. I think that's what I'd have to pick. If it was a different car outside the United States or at a track outside the U.S., that'd probably be it. I've seen everyone's favorite scheme this year. I love it. I love what your guys are. What are your favorite schemes? A couple of you answered, but a lot of you who are in here haven't said, what's your favorite scheme? I want to know. What are the chances of you racing a modified or something like that at Stafford? So I don't live far from there. I'd love to race there or go back to Thompson. I race there in a K&N East car, or ARCA East car now. But I'd really, really enjoy racing a modified. I would love the opportunity to do that, especially at a place like Loudon, because Loudon, New Hampshire is one of my favorite tracks, and we didn't get to go there this year. There's a couple of tracks we didn't get to race at this year I was looking forward to competing at. But running a modified there would definitely be spectacular. What was your favorite track to race at this year? Ah, man. So Texas and Kentucky are very similar. I had a lot of fun at both of those. But short track racing, good old short track racing at Bristol was, like I said, under the lights with fans there. That was phenomenal. Probably the most fun because of that and the fan atmosphere we had. But Homestead, from a driver aspect, that was the first time I ever ran the wall, like, super close to it. And that was some of the most fun I've ever had in a race car. It's probably running the fence is one of my new favorite things to do in a race car, for sure. No, the hero cards are signed by me. I sign them by hand. The virtual ones I sign with my finger, and it's really hard. It looks kind of sloppy, but I do my best. What's your dream car outside of the racetrack? Well, Robinson, Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. One of the new ZL1s is definitely probably my dream car. I was fortunate enough to drive one at Ron Fellows driving school at Spring Mountain out in Nevada, and I have a video of it on my YouTube channel. I actually have a new one I haven't uploaded yet because I went back there, and they handle so well. And to know it's a street car, but push the limits of it on an actual racetrack and know how well it handles and how fun it is to drive is like, gave me a whole new appreciation for that car, aside from just how beautiful it looks. And I totally want one of those. But right now, my daily driver is a 2011 GMC Sierra. So General Motors all the way. Which, yes, that is a pickup truck. 4 doors. Can't wait for the first diecast car. I know, I wish we got a diecast car this year. I know if we would have won a race, we for sure would have had a diecast, and we didn't have the opportunity to make any for any other things. However, maybe there's a chance the Kansas wreck car could be the part of the Checkers or Wreckers series. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? That'd be great. Are you hyped for Martinsville? Well, as many of you know, or maybe you don't know, Texas Motor Speedway last week was my last race of the season because I've run a partial schedule in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year for Richard Childress Racing. So I won't be driving the number 21 Chevrolet Camaro anymore this year. There's only Martinsville and Phoenix, our last 2 races left, and I wish I could be driving in them, but I will definitely try to make the most out of couch racing, as I call it, and sitting on the couch, listening to the scanner, watching the races. And just still trying to learn, right? When I'm not in the car, I'm not just watching because I'm unable to drive and I'm sitting there just chilling, but I'm trying to actually watch and learn and get better. And that's why I listen to the scanner during the races and even during the Cup Series races. What hurt worse, flipping over or hitting the wall? Hitting the wall was the worst part. The flip wasn't that bad, but after hitting, it was definitely... it wasn't ideal, and sitting, being stuck hanging upside down for 10, 15 minutes, however long it took to get flipped back over was a tense period of time as well because of all the blood rushing to my head. But hitting the wall was the most painful physically. You don't notice it during as much because it happens so fast and everything, but it really hits you. Of course, you notice kind of that night, the next day, and it was really the second day that hit me with that wreck in particular. I think it's cool Phoenix is the new finale because it's not. I think they should change it up every couple of years. I think that's a great idea. Maybe even every year. That'd be kind of crazy, but every couple of years it changes. It's exciting. It keeps it new, and it makes it tough on the drivers because when you go to a place like Homestead or even Phoenix in this case, you can kind of pick out of the final 4 usually, unless more than one happens to be really good there. But a place like Homestead, there's select few people that can just really, really make tremendous speed there. And knowing that if they're in the final 4, it's kind of a given who's going to win the race or the championship ultimately, if they are, like I said, in the final 4. So with Phoenix this year, it's kind of the same thing. So it gives an opportunity for someone else who makes the final 4 and works their way to that point from the playoffs, have a better shot at the championship. But as a driver and a race team, you need to be diverse enough to be competitive at every track and have speed everywhere you go. Do you like road courses? So, David, I actually need more experience on road courses so I can get better, especially knowing that the Xfinity Series has so many on the schedule, and I'm not sure what next season looks like, but I'm sure based off the Cup Series schedule that's been released, there'll be a handful because the Xfinity Series always had quite a few more than the Cup Series. So have to get better at that, and I've had awesome people around me like Ron Fellows and AJ Allmendinger to help me learn and get better and have a better understanding about how to make speed in the car and how to make my car and brakes and tires and everything last throughout one of those races, because it is harder on equipment in certain ways, and you have to attack those races or approach those races in different ways for sure. Everyone's enjoyed listening on the scanner. I love to hear that. It's cool to listen on it for sure. It's awesome NASCAR has the NASCAR app where you can listen on the scanner and follow your driver updates and watch in car if you have one. I wish we had an onboard camera at some point this year, or a visor cam. I'd love to have that in the future for all my friends, family, supporters, sponsors, and fans to watch. Of course, with everyone else, just to get an aspect of racing. But I know everyone who I know personally, just how cool that would be to see my perspective during a race. We are streaming Warzone directly after this, actually. I don't know, who would I call my friend in the Xfinity Series? I'm not sure, because obviously we have our affiliates down at Colleague Racing, so those are essentially our teammates. But as far as at Richard Childress Racing in-house, the 21 car is it. So when you go to the racetrack, like I said, other than the Colleague cars, as you know, them being our affiliates, and other cars at Super Speedways that run ECR engines, there aren't many friends on the racetrack. But off the track, I know Harrison Burton and I raced QnA together, and a couple other series, and know each other pretty well off the track. So he's probably one that stands out the most, and I've got to know a couple others this year. But you can be friends off the track, but you'll always be competitors on the track. I'm sure, Joey. I hear stories all the time. Sometimes I listen back because there's certain parts that are recorded. Oh yeah, we'll have a few of those, I'm sure. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for the support all year. I hope I did a good job recapping this season, and answered all of your questions as well as you had hoped, and was as specific as possible. I try to do my best to do that. This was definitely a very, this year as a whole has been probably the most significant in my career as far as what I've learned, how I've developed and grown as a driver and a person. And there's a lot of different things that play into that, and we could also do another video, pointing out some of those things in particular. But either way, thank you all for the support. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and if you're watching this back, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, a great weekend, and enjoy watching the last two races of the year. I'll be watching them with you. I really, really hope to have some news regarding 2021 and next season, for my career, and what I have planned for you soon. But it's all dependent on what we can secure in sponsorship. Obviously, that's the only thing holding us back from getting something signed immediately, and we're working our hardest to make that happen. But like I said before, to have the support of all you is a big part of that, and I'm very grateful, and will always appreciate everyone wearing merchandise, being a part of the streams, commenting on social media, and following me, and being a part of this wild ride. All right, well, I'll talk to you all later, and I hope you all are doing well, staying safe, staying healthy, and have a great rest of your week. Bye.